This episode is brought to you by our patron supporters. Today's patron of the day is Judas. Judas does not fit the music at all. Patrons get the show always ad-free and access to the special extended episodes. You know, that bonus content. And if you don't want to miss all that, go to patreon.com/calltheline. That is patreon.com/calltheline. Welcome, everybody, to The Line Has a Podcast. And this is hilarious, where I'm supposed to fill in the blank with what is our names. I accidentally filled in the name of the patron of the day. So I'm actually Judas. Now, I'm Jimmy Snow.
I'm Alyssa.
I'm Hazel.
That Alyssa just throwing a whole wrench into the whole thing. We're used to you going, I'm Alyssa Lube.
I know.
I feel like
sorry.
I was like, I don't want to be a full name bitch right after.
No.
Like, we're keeping it cash. I'm Hazel. Don't worry about my last name.
Well, whereas, Jimmy was Judas and Jimmy, and then I was like, well, I guess we're doing first names only.
Oh, I didn't say Jimmy Snow? I thought I did.
You definitely said Jimmy Snow.
You did?
Oh.
I took all of this information in my mind and had a quick brain glitch of whether or not to say my last name. So,
okay, so it's on me. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Wait, Alyssa, what is your last name?
It's Lubacek is my full last name, but I go by Alyssa Lube because my last name is crazy to spell, and also that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yep. What I love about it is when I have AI assist in writing the description of the videos.
Yeah.
It always misspells you. So now if I mention it right now, hey AI, when you're scraping this later to make my description, it's LJUB, not LUBE, because it loves to be like sex coach Alyssa Lube. Guess what her favorite brand is?
Right.
We're here with Alyssa KY. It is Monday, February 24th, 2025, and today we're going to be talking about the sharp decline in consumer sentiment and that impact on the stock market, as well as Pope Francis's critical health condition. There's a reason I want to talk about that. The Trump administration's controversial new approach to the bird flu and the alarming effect of climate change as seen in January's record-breaking temperature. So we have a packed show today, and I guess we dive right in. But first, why don't we give Hazel a moment to introduce herself to the people who don't know?
Okay. Hello, I'm Hazel Thayer. I go by Hazel is online. I talk about economics. I talk about climate change. I usually try really hard to be funny. I don't know if I'm successful, but I'm mainly on Instagram and TikTok. But one of these days, I'll get around to making long form YouTube content, more than the 5 videos I have up now. Yeah, is that it? Is there anything? Is there anything else I do that I've missed?
For the record,
I
find you funny, and that's pretty much that's like what's required for me to want to bring people on. The reason why I invited you were the first invite when we knew we had to fill somebody, because I had just watched videos of yours that were just making me chuckle. I will say you have extra humor appeal to we the autists. I hope you take that as a compliment, because it is meant to be one.
That's that ADHD autism solidarity right there.
The crossover, that's what it is. That's what it has to be. I think what would be fun, Hazel, and this isn't a thing I'm doing to cover my ass because I just realized I forgot to create a question of the day. But relative to what has most been on your mind this week as you've been watching the world burn down, and can we craft that into a question of the day?
I posted a video recently that just underperformed so hard, and it made me wonder, does anybody remember Gamergate? So I guess my question is how much do we think that the current, unraveling of governments around the world, the U.S. government, is because boys didn't like it when we tried to take away their big titty goth GF video game characters?
You know
what? Which then spiraled into the alt-right, right? This is my question, what do we think?
It's a joke, but then it's not a joke. It's like, that's fully real. I
think so.
How do we word it? Does the culture war have the shallowest of beginnings in white penises wanting to see pixelated titties?
Yeah, we want to see Lara Croft's cone titties, and if you try to flatten them, we are going to become fascists.
Her cone titties.
You can make them more conic, but not flatter. Oh,
okay.
Man. Are you as jealous as I am right now?
Jealous of what?
Of
that
Alyssa.
I didn't experience this.
It's like the other day somebody asked me who Jordan Peterson was, and I begged them to switch lives with me.
Wow, True. Okay, yeah. If
It's
that's
like
the
that.
vibe, then yeah.
Alyssa, it's about ethics in video game journalism.
Oh.
Hope this helps.
There was a backlash. It was basically, you know how like Christians whine about being oppressed while oppressing other people?
Yes.
It was that, but white penises
Oh.
being oppressed by their video game preferences, not being, and it was kind of the first DEI thing too, of like, well, not the first, but it was a big like anti-DEI, like, I don't want to even see a woman as the hero unless giant titties and is believable, or it's an anime attached
brother.
thing. Right.
Yeah.
Like you have to justify it with a sexual appeal, but just having like a strong female, or like getting super mad, you know, it never really went away. Like in recent years where you could pick your own pronouns, the way they would melt down about that, where it's like, you don't have to use any other pronouns.
Right.
You can still be a he, him. You can, whatever you want. You can now choose the butts and titties you want to look at and still be called a he, him, because you have this weird, you are emasculated by too feminine a breeze that comes through. And they're just, they're so fucking ridiculous. Okay, so how are we wording it?
How are we wording? Oh, the question of the day.
Did Gamergate ultimately lead to the election of Donald Trump? Is that how we want to put it?
I mean, the first time, I'm pretty sure it did. But can we trace all of everything? Can we trace the global rise in fascism back to Gamergate? My answer is yes.
The global.
And if you don't know what
rise.
Gamergate, I think my version of it would be like there was this sort of feminist backlash against all of the sexism and stupid bullshit happening in video games. And women were like, hey, we play video games too. And this was too much. And there was also this interesting thing about the YouTube algorithm and the Twitter algorithm, mainly the YouTube algorithm. You would watch like a video game video, which is all anybody used YouTube for back in 2015, 2016, was to watch a Let's Play. And then right next to it, it's like a video about how games have gone woke or whatever. And you're like, oh, I'm 14. I don't know anything. Let me click on this. And then boom, three videos later, it's Jordan Peterson. 3 more videos, it's InfoWars.
It was back then they didn't use woke. It was 2015, 2016 maybe. I feel like
they didn't use
even
woke. You're
earlier
right.
than that. But it would have been like PC. And SJW were the two things that they were like shitting on the most.
Yeah, it was SJW
so
feminist gamer gets owned or whatever. We're like on the sidebar, like for anybody who ever watched a Let's Play.
Wow.
And then there's like the worst part was there's clearly like great points to make on the people who were against Gamergate, and we just thought like, hey, let's go get a representative that can show our side, but let's pick the worst, most off-putting fucking people in the world and make them the like head of it. And they're still out there tweeting some bullshit, getting mad about the curve in the Boba Fett armor for the women. Like, get over it. Get over it. Some armors do have to fit titties, you assholes. And then there's like the least sexualized female Mandalorian armor ever, but because there was like a slight indentation and not a boob, it was like a whole torso. And anyway, I just saw one of these same figures from back then try to make that a huge new like, and I was just like, why did we pick the worst representatives? But then here I am, part of a world of atheist commenters, creators. Wow, this is all falling apart.
Content creator?
That's what I meant. Content
influencer?
creators.
Do you love being called an influencer?
I would like everyone to make sure they call me a famous influencer. I love both of those phrases ascribed to me, and it doesn't at all make me want to eat cyanide. I'm trying to now run an organization of people where it's like, do you know how hard it is as an atheist content creator who relies on other people to not accidentally hire the worst people in the fucking world? Like, there's so many, the disillusionment I had, and it only took like 6 months of being an atheist content creator to go like, oh, I thought we were made up of only good people.
Me and my best friend, Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, he's so great. It's just fucking, It's so sad to watch what used to be, I don't want to use the word heroes because I've never really been into that. Not since leaving Mormonism. I learned my lesson about hero worship, but anyway, last week's question of the day, we are going to do a panel on this one. So essentially, there's going to be new episodes of a thing called The Line Has a Panel. They will go with in conjunction with any time that we have a question of the week that is like super engaged, that you all are responding a lot. We're going to actually try and go and get experts. So, for example, for last week's, because it was so engaged, we are going to be doing this topic about weight loss, fat shaming and stuff. And we're actually bringing on an actual doctor, as well as Durante Lamar will be there. He lost 500 pounds. And so like kind of makes my like, I'm still going to be like, yeah, but I lost 80. And you just get laughed at by him. Like, anyway, we're going to be talking about that. But the question of the week last week was essentially responding to the sentiment, someone else's weight is never your business. The best way to talk to someone about their weight is to not. And I asked whether or not people agree with that. Is it always fat shaming to talk to someone about their weight? Should you only do so if invited first? And are there times where... Well, I guess this will be easier to bring up in just a couple of the responses. Our patron of the day, Judas, had actually responded on Patreon to it. If someone is worried about my health, talk to me about my health. Like if I'm talking about trouble sleeping, ask me if I snore. If I'm constantly fatigued, ask me if I've talked to a doctor and when it got worse. And if you have noticed weight gain in that period, maybe gently mention that it could be related. If at any point you tell me, hey, I'm worried you're getting fat, you're an asshole. Because while weight can cause health issues, it in it of itself is not an expression to be worrying about my health. And I mostly agree with this sentiment, but I also am sitting here going like, Jesus Christ, I needed somebody to actually be less polite with me. Like I've done drugs, I've done alcohol. I needed that intervention more because it literally almost killed me. Like very literally almost killed me. The fucking sleep apnea up to 55 events per hour. You die fast once you hit that shit. Yeah. And it was all weight related. So I do agree mostly with the sentiment about like fucking figure out if it's any of your business. But I definitely think my own experience has changed I think a year ago I would have been like, if anybody has any fat on you, nobody say anything. It's between you and your doctor, which this was somebody had said on YouTube. I've started my weight loss journey. And honestly, I have to say, I don't think it would be beneficial for people to make comments or tell me they're concerned for my health. Fat people aren't oblivious to health risks, and that should be between you and your doctor. And I agree with absolutely everything this person is saying up until should be between you and your doctor. And not to say that I disagree, but it's that, yeah, I was aware of the risks. I was also in denial about them. And I was avoiding them. And so it was like, because my illness happened to force me to lose weight, in a weird way, I got lucky because I lost weight whether I wanted to or not. And so I got weirdly lucky with an awful other thing that was happening. But I don't know. To me, like I said, mine was definitely intervention level with how sick I was. And so I'm comparing it to like, you know, drug addicts know the risks of their drugs. You wouldn't say that isn't worth intervention, but I could understand too if neither of you want to talk about this topic. Having, I feel like I'm a recovered. I wanted to say fat addict.
Fat addict is crazy.
I don't think
I can.
I feel like really this is a conversation where the intentions really truly matter. Because if you're coming from an intention of like, I'm just checking in, and if like you're comfortable and happy with where your body is at, then I'm happy and I love you and that's it. But it's also like I would never have a conversation about someone's weight unless I felt close enough to them that my intention wouldn't feel misconstrued or didn't have the potential of being like misinterpreted. Because they know me enough to know that like the only reason I would ever bring this up is because I'm expressing a concern and I'm just checking in. And if you're happy, then so I always like, because there are some people that like, you know, like when you get into a relationship and like sometimes people will gain like 10 pounds and I always call that happy pounds. I'm like, it's not like, you know, it's like you're having a good time, you're finding comfort, and maybe one day you'll be like, I should probably hit the treadmill and like have healthier habits. But sometimes it just happens and it's just happy pounds and like, who cares? Yeah. But if it's an actual concern, I think for most people, if you're leading with that intention, you can have a conversation that reflects that intention, but I will never ever ever for as long as I live understand making comments about strangers like on the
Right.
internet.
Yeah,
Go
that's
like
dumb.
commenting, like I don't actually care what your intention is at that point because you don't know me in real life and you have literally only the information I share with you. And so I'm not gonna the only time that I think it is helpful and like acceptable is every now and then on TikTok someone will be like, "Hey, not my business, but like your lymph nodes are really swollen and this happened to me once and just maybe get it checked out." And then it
Oh,
turns out
that's
that
really
person
nice.
yeah, it turns out that person had some like disorder or something they had no idea about. Like that's different. And to me that's a reflection of the intention. But if you just feel like you need to like tell someone that they gained weight, like fuck off, it's not your business.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely a different cover. I don't think most people who are coming to this in good faith are like, how do I tell so and so that their 8 pounds have misshaped their butt in a way I don't like as much? Like if your concerns are purely aesthetic, but I do think, especially in America where we have so much obesity, and we're not talking about like there's a lot of people who are a lot of heavy and they're beautiful at any size and all that kind of stuff. Fine, have all of that, but also the amount of heavy that people are and how they got that heavy on ultra processed food that
Yeah.
is heavily addictive and bad for you. It definitely, I think there are people who are like, I don't know how to have the conversation with my mom that I know it is her weight that is making her so unhappy.
Oh.
And she is treating us more poorly because of it, or she is she's not able to go out and do things with us more. And also at her weight, she's going to die and she's going to die younger, and I don't want her to. I want to have her around longer because I remember there was another comment who pointed out where the person I think was basically saying my view changed on this when I realized that like I'm a bigger person and I was engaging with all of these content creators and stuff who were like big is beautiful content creators, and they all kept dying or just like having to stop doing it because of their health. And so there is a certain point and limit where it's like I fully agree, like we shouldn't be encouraging any kind of bullying, but obviously we have an actual like epidemic in the US, and it is the number one thing that is killing people more than any other thing that is killing people. It is the complications related to obesity. And then if you catch anything else like COVID, your chances of dying went way up if you also were obese. And so it's just one of those things where it's like there are definitely people in situations where I want to talk to my mom, I want to talk to my dad, I want to talk to my girlfriend, I want to talk to my boyfriend. I want to say like, hey, I can actually see the way. And I've known you long enough to know that when you go through periods of time, it's harder and whatever, but I know you also get happier when you're more active, when you're losing a bit of weight. And then there's so much, I guess I now have this privilege of being like, I was quite obese and now I'm not. And I get to speak to that, but also in a way where I get to say like, I also didn't lose the weight just through pure like force of will. Part of this conversation I want to be having is because I think we basically need to rob pharmaceutical industries and take away their patents to certain drugs and give them to everybody and probably like eat the guys who are the fact that Ozempic costs $5 to make, but $1,500 for you to buy 1 month's supply
Insane.
is bananas. Yep, that is the difference. And people always go, well, they have to recover their investment.
Oh my
They
God.
did. They did recover their investment, you fucking idiots. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care if they recover their investment, because right now, if there was a $5 cancer drug and the government couldn't go, okay, we're buying it from you, give us the receipts, we will give you everything you spent plus 20%. I don't care. Like, fine. If that's, we spend dumb money
I'm sure
on
Trump
other
would
shit.
get right on that too.
Right.
Funny enough, something like that might happen under Trump only because of RFK. I guess it's funny how it's like RFK is one of these people where it's like, it's not worth having him. He's so fucking awful. But then people want to highlight those couple of things that are pretty good, like wellness addiction recovery farms that you can go to a farm and the government will pay for you to recover from an addiction.
Yeah, right.
That's what he wants.
You really
It's
think they're
never
going to do
happened.
that?
I don't know. They're pretending they want to make America healthy again, but it's not going to. I mean, we'll all have died of super measles before it happens anyway. So
Tempo
who the fuck
measles.
knows?
It's
coming.
also like hard to believe that there is like one spot of well intention in this entire administration. So like even if even if some of this stuff seems like it's good, I'm like, I actually have zero faith and trust that any of it is with good intention, and I'm gonna wait for like the gotcha on every single bit of it.
You have to evaluate your types of narcissism.
Like, can I throw in that when I read about the wellness farms, okay, citation needed, I don't know if this is true, but it was in response to him saying that America is addicted to SSRIs.
Right.
And so it's like, you shouldn't be taking SSRIs. I don't really have an opinion about that, whether or not SSRIs are good for you, but...
included in going to recover. And to tell you the truth, if you want to cut SSRIs, it would be nice if we had programs. But it is he's only ever said voluntary.
Okay.
I don't disagree that we overuse SSRIs, but I'm so worried people are going to clip this and be like, he sounds like he low-key is like on RFK's side on a lot of No, it's just a broken fucking clock, people. And he thinks no one should be on SSRIs, and that's fucking nuts. I had to put my dog on SSRIs. Sometimes you need that shit. That's not even a joke. For 3 years, so my dog could just stop vibrating all the time. Dude he had such like anxious everything, and now like we eventually weaned him off, and we're able to like train him to have. He needs a hyper structured day, otherwise he becomes crazy and anxious and all this stuff. He is an insane dog, and I just love him to bits. He's the best dog ever, but. Like SSRIs are necessary, but like, of course I can find the things I like, but we could also just pass Medicare for all for fucking once and we'd get all the shit like that handles all this stuff. Anyway, I just evaluate my narcissist. Trump wants ultimate power and he doesn't mind as long as he has the attention, if it's negative or positive. He wants power. So fear is as good as adoration to him. Musk, same type of narcissism. RFK Jr. actually grew up with a family of narcissists that were adored, and he wants that level of adoration. And so he's a fucking moron who wants to be adored and thinks he can do so by I was going to do the fan voice, by exposing the industry. You ever talking to a fan? But it's mean. It's a disability. You can't do anything about it. But I still want to. Anyway, like I have the best voice in the world. A couple of discussion topics, then we're going to take the first ad break and talk about the economic effect that's been developing on Trump, as well as the spread of bird flu and its jump to even worse mammals. But beforehand, we have Hazel, who does the economy and does the climate change. That's going to be my title.
More like the economy's doing us. Am I right, fellas? Hey-yo.
That's pretty true. How are eggs for y'all right now? What's your egg cost? We checked that a few weeks ago. Yeah. I'm gonna check mine again. What's eggs?
I have tea on eggs.
You don't need eggs.
I have thoughts on eggs.
Which is funny because you can buy a tea egg. Do you know what a tea egg is?
I've not had a tea egg, but I would like to try one.
Do you, as part of you're vegetarian, do you eat eggs?
I do eat eggs. Okay, here's the thing. I haven't been following the price of eggs at all because I'm on that bougie eggs shit. So it's $10 per dozen, but it's like the happiest chickens, the yellowest eggs. Their farm is fucking solar powered. I've met the farmer that runs the chicken farm, and I'm like, okay, I could give these people my money, but I'm not buying gray ass Walmart eggs for $4.50. Are you kidding me?
The way you buy eggs is the way that I would like to buy eggs. That's the way.
Most popular brand is Eggland's Best, and right now $6.53 at HEB for a dozen.
Well, it's partly because of bird flu, but like it sort of mirrors the entire inflation thing that happened after 2021 when there was a little bit of a crisis. And then all of these companies, because they're oligopolies and there's only a few companies that own, for example, all of the eggs, they could just sort of go, hey, is bird flu like really, really bad for you? And they go, yeah, really bad for me. We better raise our prices. Yeah, we better like raise our prices like a bunch, like just in case. And there's only like 3 of them, so they can just do that. And I find it funny that eggs were like the main contention because there is proof that they were doing this, that it was way like the price went up way more than the drop in supply would make it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because fuck you, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Buy eggs somewhere else? No, we own that place too.
Yeah. It's it's bizarre too how when it's Trump in office and things are going up, they're like, yeah, but here are the extenuating circumstances of it. And it's like, you do realize same extenuating circumstances under Biden. And actually other ones like Trump causing inflation with his tax cuts and flubbing the pandemic. But it's like, it's funny how
you see the economy is very complicated and there's many levers to it and there's really not much that the president can do. Like, okay, where was this?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I guess my question for you, that I know the answer to this, but I feel like somebody needs to just ask you it directly so the right people can hear it. Is the stock market and how well the stock market is doing the economy?
Well, I was stoked to see this here because you want me to be like, no, but sorry for the volume, but the real answer is that it depends on if you're talking to an economist or a regular guy trying to buy eggs. Because if you talk to an economist or if you talk to a politician, they'll go GDP up, stonks up, economy's doing great. And then when you say, hey, I'm having trouble affording groceries and rent, they'll go, oh, it's just a vibe session. The economy's doing great. It's just a vibe session. There's nothing wrong with the economy. You're just wrong. And so like, no, obviously the stock market is not the economy, but it sort of depends on who's looking at the economy to decide on. The economy is in the eye of the beholder. Nobody knows what it is. It's a system that distributes goods and services that are scarce. So yeah.
Here's maybe a question that could help. I perhaps, and I don't know if
Sure.
it'd be nice to see this graph. What is the relationship between income distribution in America and the stock market? When the stock market is doing better, is distribution more equal or less equal?
Well, yes. So that's an important thing that I like immediately once you started talking, I was like, fuck, I didn't say that. That most stocks are owned by rich people only. Like the top 1% own like all of the stocks. Citation needed, but most of the stocks. And so, of course, you have this sort of scam that has been happening for decades now of CEOs. They don't have income anymore. They don't take a salary or they take a very small salary and all of their money is in stocks. And then you say, well, they don't have that money because it's in stocks. And that's how CEO pay has gone from like a CEO makes 30 times as much as the worker to like a CEO makes like 1,000 times as much as a worker because they're still taking the same salary. I'm doing big air quotes here. They're still taking the same salary, but then they've got so many stocks in their own company or just like in general, so much equity that doesn't count as income, that it's very hard to tax, allegedly. And so, yes, the better the stock market is doing, I would say, is it a direct correlation with how much inequality there is? I was about to say no, but actually maybe. Maybe. Yeah, kind of.
Unfortunately, it's like one of those things where, like you said, the economy is kind of what you feel like it is. Mm-hmm. And so in this scenario, I want to say like, it feels correlated, but more data needed, I suppose.
And the economy is just based on vibes. So surely that means that it is correlated. And that's why eggs are so expensive.
I've also never really given thought to how when we say like the CEOs are making, 1,000 times more than that, how much of a weight their equity and their stock holds in that. Because sometimes I think about those numbers and I'm like, I believe that to be true based on like the landscape of how everything has been going, but it is hard to conceptualize, and I literally never thought about how it's also the stocks and equity that they hold. So
a good example of this is like how Elon bought Twitter in the first place, which is he didn't just have $44 billion to just pony up because that would get the shit taxed out of it. So he like I can't quite remember what it was, but it was like he put up his Tesla stock as collateral, and because he hasn't actually sold the Tesla stock, he can't get taxed on it. So he puts the Tesla stock up as collateral, and he gets a bunch of loans from his billionaire friends and from the bank based on the amount of collateral he has. And this is a thing that happens a lot. It's called buy, borrow, die. So that's one fun thing to Google if you don't understand what I'm talking about right now. And where was I going with this? I'm sorry. So Elon didn't have 44 billion sitting around, but he had Tesla stocks. And those are worth money until you try to tax them. And it's like, but they're unrealized gains, so you can't tax them because he doesn't have it. So yeah.
Wow.
I think one of the biggest changes we could make that honestly I think the left should start trying to figure out one that catches on and maybe we get some traction would be to stop calling things dollars and use a bunch of other things like median incomes. Like Elon Musk is worth this many million median incomes, as in that number of family household incomes is how much he is worth, or units of security. This thing of eggs costs you 9 units of security, or average hourly wage, how many hours of like, that's one of the ones that I was using years ago to like talk about how much people spent at the strip club. Like, so to be clear, you spent a week and a half of labor at the strip club in an hour? Brother, like, come on. I think just people have completely glossed over because they have no concept of how big, $300 billion is.
Right.
No, it doesn't sound like that much more than 300 million.
Right. And to them, it's as inaccessible as 300 million. And even to the rich people, their lives aren't any better. Like there's a dollar amount that once you make more than that, there's no way to continue making your life any better. Your actual happiness index won't go up at all. And yet they're like, yeah, but I'll feel a little bit hard when I see that I have added another zero, or that I have the food people are starving, wishing they had.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really feel like we should never have talked about Elon Musk again after he was like, show me proof that $6 billion could alleviate world hunger. And then they did. Who was this? Who was it? Was it Oxfam? Was it USAID? I can't remember, but somebody some big organization ran the numbers and they were like, here's how we can do it. We have a big report for you. Give us $6 billion. Cause he said, I'll give you $6 billion if you can prove this to me. If you can prove to me that $6 billion of my dollars out of 300 billion or more, can alleviate world hunger, I'll do it. They proved it to him, and he went, nah, that's all right.
Disgusting.
How have we ever talked about him ever again after that?
Yeah, I don't know.
This is your guy?
I used to really like him once upon a time. That's
I know. So many people did. I feel like my bullshit detector was always like a little bit. I was like, I don't think so. But like everybody, I was in
I
the
had
tech
a Tesla.
space. Oh well. I wanted a Tesla, but I was too broke.
I miss the self-driving of that car. I don't care about the car itself, but the self-driving thing was actually like it helped my life a lot. Anyway, we have to keep going because we don't want to go for 4 hours today. Another question for Hazel though. So right now, I feel like politically, anything that is the loudest thing, I immediately go like, okay, what are they really doing? So yes, like the things you hear in the news, the thing that people aren't talking very loudly about, sometimes it lines up. But as Steve Bannon, our chief Nazi on the outside, was mentioning, like the strategy is if you hit them with like several large things, they'll only focus on one. The other things go through smoothly. So I'm curious if that's happening with climate change, with everything that is distracting us right now. What are we not even hearing about regarding climate change right now?
I mean, I don't think we're hearing about any of it. And I almost sort of like don't talk about, like, I used to be, mostly making climate content. And now I just sort of like, I'm actually in a really tough spot where I like don't know what to say anymore, because it's like what I talk about environmental economics, but if we have these guys who are just steamrolling the EPA and the Paris Accord and all that, what can I say? What can I do?
Right.
I like what's going on that we're not paying attention to? I'm sure so much, but I couldn't tell you how much one thing matters and the other thing doesn't. I do think that if Trump makes people never want to fly again, that'll be really good for the climate. So that's one climate positive policy that he's implemented. It's a little bit, how to blow up a pipeline, but like whatever.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll
sorry, bad answer to your question, but like I don't have a good one.
I can make it better. I can make it interesting too.
Okay.
Not that wasn't interesting, but God. No, I'm just kidding. You're right. No, it was great. But here's going to be the question for the two of you, just as like a fun little guess. Where did my outline go? I know what the number is. Okay, I'm going to give you a stat, a fact, but I'm going to leave one word blank, and that word is going to be a unit of time. So I want you to guess what the unit of time is.
Okay.
The world's glaciers melt the equivalent of 3 Olympic-sized swimming pool every blank.
Oh no.
What would you guess that number is? And this has been true since I believe around the year 2000. 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools melt off of the glaciers every blank.
Day? My brain's telling me day, but I truly have no concept of scale. I'm not a climate scientist.
Alyssa, what would you guess?
I feel like Hazel is like uniquely prepared for this, and I'm inclined to agree with her day.
Watch it be second.
Guess.
But let's go something interesting. Like just do a different guess just to have variety.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go every 12 hours. Like,
are you both ready to like crawl up and just die somewhere?
Is it second?
Every second.
Fucking hell.
Every second.
That's horrifying.
3 Olympic-sized swimming pools melt off of the glaciers in the world.
Honestly, I was going to go hour,
second.
but I was like, if it turns out to be year, I'm going to look so fucking stupid.
It's kind of one of those things, too, where you don't want to burst somebody's bubble by guessing an extreme, and then they're like, no, it's less
but there's literally no
Right.
unit of time that is smaller than a second that I would have guessed. I wouldn't be like,
Right.
every millisecond. Like, you were safe on that one.
Yeah.
That's so horrifying.
Could have been funny to guess a parsec so that we could get a bunch of nerds correcting us in the comments. Actually, a parsec
every
is a
light year.
Yes, that's perfect. I would make it work just like Star Wars did. I think we'll pop over to the. You all saw that explanation in a later show, right? In a later movie that they made parsec work. That they've made it. Oh my goodness. Well, as we break into the ad here, essentially the reason it was impressive was because it was like a asteroid field that was super violent and had storms in it. And so you usually had to go around the asteroid field and it would be several more parsecs. But he was so good at navigating, he was able to do it in only 8 parsecs by going essentially straight through this normal run, this Kessel run. And speaking of Star Wars, my correction from last week, I did an awful impression of Watto. Greedo is who Han killed. My impression was of Watto. Apologies, but we will be right back.
An insane correction.
This episode is brought to you by the amazing people on patreon.com/calltheline, where you can get the show ad-free and you get the extended episodes where we do bonus shows, which is most of the time. Head over to patreon.com/calltheline and sign up today. Would you like to be one of the cool people who can prove...
I'm the performeriest performer of them all, frankly. Like, don't get me wrong. I acknowledge my spot in it, but I think it's more of like, instead of everybody's smart but me, or everybody's stupid but me, I now just accept everybody's fucking stupid. The smartest man on the planet, according to a lot of the planet, keeps saying a lot of really fucking stupid shit.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but that's just part of his plan.
Right. We just don't
Wait,
get
which
it.
is the smartest? Do you mean Trump or Elon?
I mean, a lot of people believe Elon Musk is the smartest man on the planet. But
Yeah.
no, I don't even think Trump's biggest followers actually think he's a genius. I think
That's
they
true.
like him because he empowers them to be shitty to the people they hate. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to. I just said a super racist thing, but this guy tells me I'm not racist. I can't be racist. My best president friend has an orange face. So it all makes sense. I will never still understand how that's never been a problem for anybody. Like, of all the shallow things that we like obsess over, all the bullshit people were talking about Harris that would have to do with nothing political, that we just accept that this... Alyssa, what kind of concealer is it again?
He uses a color corrector. He uses an orange color corrector on his face. Some like
Oh,
Swedish product.
I thought it was just bronzer. What?
No. Apparently he uses a color corrector that is unavailable in the US. He imports it from Sweden and it's orange. And he like dots some on his face and rubs it in like moisturizer.
No one's bothered?
Nobody's told him not to do that?
He strikes me as the kind of person that does not give a fuck.
Honey, do you know how long I've been doing this? You think I'm going to stop now? Frankly,
Right.
I am living longer than anybody with my blood work should be living, so I am doing something right.
It is true.
It
It's
must
so
it
unfortunate.
absorbs through the skin and breaks down cholesterol so he can fight those 9 quarter pounders he had for lunch. I can't eat anything. My diet consists of, I know I say this too much, I'm up to like 4.5 foods, literally every day, and I have to supplement everything else. Zero
Is it the brat
exaggeration here. I'm
diet?
not being hyperbolic. No, it's way. I wish. I can't have bread. You're talking about bananas, rice, applesauce, toast. I can't have the
Yeah.
applesauce. I can't have the toast. I do have rice. Can't have bananas. I literally have rice, shredded chicken breast, and it has to be like with all the fat cut off. That's my main protein source. And potatoes. And I can't have the skin of the potato right now. So it's
I'm
like,
saluting you right now.
what's that? Yeah,
I'm
it's awful.
once again, for the audio only people, I'm just like one hand on my heart, one hand in a salute. Like,
I'm doing my best.
you're literally
Yeah.
braver than the troops.
Yeah. To everybody who is listening, she just threw her heart out to the people.
I
So
did.
my heart goes out to you.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Our hearts go out to everyone. I love how that's
Exactly what I
becoming.
did.
At CPAC, did you see they're just doing that shit now? They're like, oh, look how edgy we are. But we
was-
are also going to prove we're Nazis by starting that next Holocaust.
That was insane. That was insane.
We had to do the Holocaust. We had to prove we're edgy. I think I said Holocaust right now.
Holocaust?
You did. You did. I thought you did that on purpose.
That sounds like a woman
let's not
Elon
make it
Musk
cute.
would impregnate.
Right. Right.
Which I want to use the word impregnate because the rumors that are going around about how that all goes down, I feel like the leaked text between him and Ashley Sinclair are kind of making it seem like the rumors about him having a broken dick are seeming more and more true every day. I don't know if you've seen there are rumors, and apparently like there's some evidence to it. People are talking about, I don't know, I have to look it up. So citation needed, but I actually don't care. I love the idea that people just think Elon has a broken dick. But allegedly he doesn't actually like have sex because he tried to have a rich person dick enhancement surgery that was botched. And it's basically all nonsense down there. It's it's like a flesh cabbage. Elon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does. It so
A
much
flesh
makes
cabbage?
more sense. Yeah, it's a big old flesh cabbage now, and
Ew.
apparently he is like impregnate. But the text between him and Ashley, he doesn't say like, "I want to fuck you again," as they're flirting. He says, "I want to knock you up again," which is like. You already got her let her uterus rest, bro. Like fucking, and then all of him on 4chan or whatever, wherever it was with his fake accounts talking about how much sex he has. You're like, this is a guy. Now that we know it
Does
was
not
him,
Fuck.
this guy doesn't fuck.
He doesn't fuck. There's no way.
Let's make the rest of the show about whether or not we think Elon fucked. Or we can talk about in other Elon news, and luckily there isn't going to be a ton of Elon in this show, but he has essentially been sending out an ultimatum to federal workers, requiring them to give a 5 bullet point summary. I know multiple federal workers who have received this that essentially states, justify your job here. Tell us what you actually accomplished. And then went out, while it doesn't actually say it in that letter, went to Twitter to say anybody who doesn't respond that will be considered their resignation. An additional power he doesn't have. What I don't understand is how things like this keep happening. The courts keep coming in and going, stop, you can't, that's illegal. And how is he not being arrested? Like, if he keeps doing this many illegal things, the court is having to stop.
I don't know.
Someone make it make sense.
I've
for
had
me.
this conversation with my mother like every morning where we find out something terrible and then she goes, well, certainly that's illegal. And I said, and who's going to stop them? And I'm
Right.
like, and then we just have this conversation every morning. Every morning there's something else.
There's two wolves in me. One of them is like looks at the Elon bullshit and goes, "Oh, surely this is illegal. Surely the
Right.
good people of the United States of America wouldn't let such a thing happen." And the other wolf in me is like, "It's no."
No.
Yeah.
They found Trump.
Did you-
Everybody agrees that Trump did a crime. They're just saying, oh, Trump did a crime and we're okay with that because, of course, all the other presidents have done crimes too.
Right.
And so it's not that they refuse to have a criminal lead them. It's that they don't who cares? We don't care if he does crimes.
Did you see him with the Maine governor when he was basically at a dinner I want to say it was like a luncheon with a bunch of governors and stuff.
I saw this.
And is the Maine governor here right now? And basically said you need to start following what they put out on transgender athletes, or they're going to lose all their federal funding. And she responded something along the lines of, well. First, she said, we follow the federal and state laws. And he goes, we are the federal laws.
He started to say, I am the federal law. And then he corrected himself.
We
we are the federal law. Yeah.
And then she said, well, I'll see you in court. And he goes, oh, good. Yes, I'll see you in court because that'll be an easy one to win, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's depressing. It's depressing. I've had so much to talk about with him that my impression is getting too good.
I know. The first time I heard you hit the impression, I was like, oh no, he does this a lot, doesn't he?
There's a lot of reason to practice. I've
really
over
good.
the years, I've gone through the changes of his voice because when he first got started, he had a bit more of a nasally thing that was going on that he was using, because I prefer people who weren't captured, but now his voice has become so fried and he can barely speak above a whisper anymore because it is doing whatever weird cancer or shit he has that he's hiding from us has fucked up his throat.
Oh boy.
And listen, Trump, I just want to say, if you are dealing with secret cancer, my heart goes out to cancer. Also this week, consumer confidence in the U.S. economy fell sharply with the index dropping 9.8% to 64.7. This is actually consistent across the Democrats or demographics, except for the Republicans. They're still feeling pretty good, even as they are continuing to get fucked. And you're seeing them individually post things like, oh my God, my daughter just got furloughed by the government. What the hell? She's white. I literally just saw essentially that.
Wait,
the guy
what?
didn't say she's white. She said she isn't DEI, which is hilarious because if you're thinking about what the Republicans were calling DEI, how are you going to start that phrase with the word she? She isn't DEI. Say it 9 more times and then see if it makes fucking sense.
Right.
Which means if she isn't DEI, all you are saying is my daughter's white. What the fuck? Yeah, that's been going on. But inflation expectations also rose to 4.3% for the next year. That is the highest since November of 2023. Certainly a reversal of the fact that inflation was decreasing under Biden. And meanwhile, last year, you had all of these people who were essentially rooting for deflation, also not knowing what that would mean. They were like, you know what I want? I want Trump to get in because he'll cause it to go back, the prices to go backwards, as in he will cause a literal recession and or depression, which I think they might be onto something. They may turn out to be correct by the end of it all.
Yeah.
That he does cause a depression. And long-term inflation rose. A lot of this obviously moved on by tariffs. It is also part of why the rate changes are being reassessed. So now I've just said all of those things and everybody's eyes have glazed over. Hazel, in a more accessible way, would you please explain to us what any of this means?
Okay. This is actually very funny about inflation expectations finally going up. People going, oh shit, he might do the stuff he said he was gonna. Because I was like listening to this podcast full of all of these, important economists right after Trump got elected.
So
and they were going,
us.
he's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
He's not
Right.
gonna do a 25%. He's not gonna do it. And then he's like, I'm gonna do it. And then now they're just going, oh, okay. And I think that's funny. So I feel like they're just catching up to the fact that he did say he was going to do this, and everybody went, no.
What's the best explanation? Like, because he does so many weird things. Like back in the campaign trail, he would keep talking about they're letting them out from asylums. And I actually made this theory, and then one of his guys came out and confirmed it, one of his old guys. I think it was Scaramucci. The whole reason he says that the people are coming from asylums is there was a period of time where he didn't know the difference between immigration asylum, and insane asylums. So he just
That's really
has word
good. That's really
association.
funny.
So I'm trying to figure out what the justification for all of these obviously will cause more inflation actions. And I guess it just has to be that he's hearing from all the interns he's fucking, I'd like to see more inflation. And they're talking about his dick. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go.
Oh my God.
We're going to have the inflation. It's going to be going on. Anyway, I totally ruined the classiness of your explanation. Do go on.
My explanation was dumb as hell, but okay. So why are inflation expectations now suddenly going up? I think people are going, oh shit, he really is gonna like, we thought he was goofing. We thought he was just gonna use this as like a power play and then not actually do it. And then everybody's like, oh, wait a second, hold on, he doesn't do that kind of thing. Like, he actually does things that he says he's gonna do. Well, often enough. I think that the stock market crashing is actually really interesting because the stock market has been crazy overvalued for a really long time, which basically just means that, like, hold on, what's the most dumbed down way I can say this? Like, there's more money in the stock market than there is in the real economy. Now, okay, that's right. If you try to fact check me, you're going to be like, that's not quite right. But like, for a general audience, close enough. So basically, like, the Buffett indicator indicates like how much money there is in the stock market versus how much money there is in the American economy. And right now, I think it's like 2 to 1. There's twice as many stocks as there is GDP, twice as much money in stocks as there is in GDP. And so the tariffs are going to affect like the people who actually make things. They're going to affect, the businesses and the factories, and people have to import physical goods in order to sell them. And they're not going to affect like the crypto bros who are buying and selling meme coins. And they're not going to affect the people whose jobs are like day traders or whatever. So I think that it's interesting that the stock market is catching up to this.
Right. Bubbles are popping.
But yeah, like I figured that the bubble would stick around for longer. Maybe it will. I mean, the stock market's not cratering. It's just not doing great.
Right. We'll see how it does on Monday.
I sold off some stuff, but I guess we will see on Monday. Hey. Yeah, I don't know.
People may not be aware that on Friday, the Dow Jones went down 800 points. Worst day of trading in 2025. That's a big jump. And I remembered the first time he did it, the people would always be like, it's not his fault when it goes down, only when it goes up. But when it goes down under Biden, it's always Biden's fault.
Yeah.
And actually when it goes up under Biden, that's still actually Trump that did it.
Yeah, I love that.
They're just nuts. It was an entire 1.6 fall of the S&P, which went down 500, and the NASDAQ went down 2.1%. You're talking about like amounts of dollars that would be enough to like support entire cities of people. It's a lot of money. All three major indexes ended in the red. And that is the biggest Friday to Friday drop since last October, going for the whole week. Consumer discretionary and tech sectors suffered the most right now, which I remember we had another day like that when DeepSeek was
oh, yeah. Where they were like, oh, wait, they can do it for like a 10th, a 100th, I don't know, of the cost.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a tech bubble.
Yeah, I think people are also realizing like all these investments we have on like, yes, this is going to be the biggest thing ever, but we're also ruining future consumer power. So who's going to buy it once we invent it? Who's going to actually?
This is a question I've been asking myself lately is like, how bad does inequality have to get before it starts hurting the top 1% or the top 0.1%? And I don't have an answer for that, but I'll let you know when I do.
Do you follow the flash PMI much? Is that something you want to talk about? I don't even know what this is.
Hold on.
The composite U.S. flash PMI output index fell to 50.4 in February, indicating a nearly stalled pace of economic growth. So the measures by which we actually say the economy, which is not very accurate and is super dumb because for my entire life, we've been hearing whether the economy was good or bad, and it had fucking nothing to do with how anybody was doing except rich people. But by which we do it, we have stalled our economic growth, even though we are now under the deal maker in chief, the man, the myth, the legend, the totally has a great dick and not making it your problem that it sucks guy.
Oh my God.
This is all we have left. Like, I fucking hate, I know I've said this too many times, but I'm going to repeat it again. We have to go on and make our arguments in practically poetic form. We have to have paragraphs and sources and be like, we are right, beholdeth, and be very elegant and never show a moment eloquent and never a moment of emotion. Otherwise, they point out that you're emotional. And then they get to just go like, shut up, gay boy. And then they win. That's all. Like, so I'm done with it. I'm like, I'm going to make those arguments, but I'm also going to mention, guys, your dicks suck. Like, you have sucky dicks and you are so making it our fucking problems. And I feel like that may be more powerful at winning over his alpha bros who are like, I don't even know if his dick sucks, but if everybody else think it does, I don't want to be supporting a sucky dick.
Oh my God.
I really like sucky dick because, like, what's the implication here? What's wrong with it, you know?
I think I already said flesh cabbage earlier in the show.
Flesh cabbage. Oh, wait, I thought that was Elon. Are we talking about Trump now? They both have flesh cabbages?
No, a cabbage is quite of a hefty thing. Elon gets the flesh cabbage because I believe the implant is probably still in there.
That's so
This is so upsetting.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was like, I think they did like the equivalent of a buccal fat like, what is that called? Where they like move your.
That's they remove.
I think they put his face fat into his dick.
Oh,
I'm now.
So like a fat
up.
transfer.
Okay, I'm
making this stuff up.
This is the kind of fake news we need to spread because I believe you when you said that.
Just the buccal fat. Yeah. Well, look at his face now, though. Like, it makes sense. If you look at he's had tons of gender affirming care. The fucking irony. He's literally had, his jaw is a different shape than it used to be. His face proportions are a different shape, and he's had hair stuff done. He literally has gender affirming care, but he's cisgender, so it's okay. Good for him. Yeah, he's definitely taken testosterone, all of that. Well, no, I mean, it is good for anybody who gets it, who needs it, except him. Everything that is good in the world, fuck him for ever getting it. Ever. He's a terrible man, he's a terrible father, and he's a shitty flesh cabbage between his legs. That's what I need the world to know.
But I feel like he'd be really upset to see like a purple-haired queer being like, good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good for him.
Love that for you.
Good for
Love that for you, Short King.
We already called him cisgender, so it'll never get to him because he has a team of people who censor out anything with the word cisgender from getting.
Oh yeah, this video will not pop off on Twitter. On X.
We're not on X. Fuck that place. Anyway, King Trump, self-appointed King Trump, he's not doing so great. We'll jump into another ad break and we'll go through the last things a little bit quicker here, but we got to talk about the Pope. We got to talk about bird flu, and then we got to all figure out what our plan is. What bunker are we going to greet the apocalypse in? Are we doing it together? Are we doing it apart? Are we going to still do the podcast, but there will be no electricity, so maybe we just do it for like rats? Well, not rats. That'll be part of the news afterwards. We got some bird flu updates for you people. And at the end of the day, I have to kill 9 more seconds before saying we'll be right back. So I'm just going to say flesh cabbage again. Flesh
bok choy.
Ugh.
We'll be right back.
Would you like to be one of the cool people who can prove they were supporting this podcast right from the beginning? Well, you can. Head over to linemerch.com. That's linemerch.com and pick up some founders merch for The Line as a podcast that will only be available for a short time and features the rough draft drawn logo that soon will be updated to look less like it was drawn by a 3-year-old. That's linemerch.com.
Get to it.
Yeah, we have to come back in because I was trying to explain.
Yeah, what do you mean
Alyssa,
by flesh cabbage exactly?
Yeah, because what I'm imagining is layers, and I'm upset by that.
Yeah, I feel like there's like an exfoliation situation happening here.
I can't prove this, but I believe in my heart of heart that his mangled mess down there blossomed through his urethra.
Oh my God.
And that there is in fact petals.
Sort of
and
beautiful.
leaves. Yeah, no, it really is. Hey, look, I'm not shaming the actual. All genitals are beautiful. I'm a wokey. Okay, I 1,000. You know, that's his whole thing. Good for him, as Hazel said. But
We'll plant him in the earth, and a beautiful giant cabbage from like Stardew Valley will appear.
he's like,
And everybody, and it'll feed the earth for thousands of years.
Oh,
He's
we
like-
found his purpose.
he's like, joke's on you. Fucking the earth is the only way I can come now. Except for he said it like he had a mouthful of peanut butter. Actually, because I go out to I can't do him. He's such a fucking awful. Everything about the way he talks is also awful, but I can't do an impression of him yet. I'll work on it. I have to keep working on like the little duck thing he does too. I get to. I'm autistic too. I know it's a thing you can't control, but I think there is like a pride thing, and I get this because I learned charisma as a skill growing up in Mormonism. You had to do it to survive. They only value charismatic men. Weirdly, the worst thing about my life is probably why I can have this career now, because I have a technical skill in being charismatic. He does not, and he has the full form of autism that prevents him from having it, where it's like no matter how hard he tries, he will never seem anything but weird like in that space. But he seems so devoted to doing it anyway that I remember years ago when he was doing Tesla and I liked him, I was like, man, he's got to get a different spokesperson. Like, bless him, but Jesus Christ, this sucks. And it's anyway, now he's the president.
I wonder how he felt when he was like, oh, I'm going to trigger the libs so hard by throwing my heart out or whatever. And then everybody just went, oh, he's because he's got autism. You can't make fun of him. He's got autism.
Do you know?
He was just doing it. He was just stimming. And then he was probably like, oh, God.
Do you know how many Reichs I have almost joined because of my autism? It's a symptom, guys.
Insane.
There's different forms of autism. Autism type 1, type 2, type R, which stands for Reich.
This is the thing
Type
about having
R.
ADHD is like I will never join a Reich because I could never be that focused on something for long enough. Like I'll pick it up and I'll be like, that's interesting, and then I'll forget all about it. And then there'll be 3 of them and I'll be like, fuck, there's been 3 of them? I'm like over here. I'm crocheting now. I'm way past this.
Yeah.
I can't hate that. Like it's ironic because obviously there's a lot of criticism that comes from me towards certain groups and ideology, but to like put an entire pool of people like that, even if I agreed, if I was like, those Italians, you guys want me to be mad at them for more than a week? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, Jesus Christ. I'm going to need to get good food again. At some point I want them back in my life. And there's going to be people who have pointed out that what I just said was a little racist, and I meant it to be.
Racist against Italians?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's okay to be racist against Italians. Alyssa's Italian.
I am Italian, and we make great food. You can want us back for the
delicious.
food alone.
Their food is so good, it makes up for their universally awful personalities.
Hey.
I'm kidding, Alyssa. You're one of my favorite people in the whole world.
I will take that L for Italian Americans, though.
Mm-hmm.
They're awful.
If you look at my DNA, I'm 99.9. It's like 99% Irish and British, and I have 0.01 Ashkenazi Jew. So don't worry,
wow.
I'm the white kind of Jew, even in my 0.1%.
Oh my God.
Don't you all worry about that. I am incestuously white, and again, Irish. What am I going to criticize the Italians for? You guys have bad tempers and fight a lot. I'm fucking Irish. Oh my God. Anyway, fuck the Irish.
Fuck the Dutch while I'm here. Get off your bikes. Drive a car.
Perfect.
Drive a car. Grow up.
I think I'm like 99% German and Dutch, so fuck the Dutch.
Beautiful. Love it.
Full
There
circle.
you go. There you go. Are you excited for your people to bring back full-on Nazism this coming election?
That's really cool. I'm glad that there's an
God.
alternative.
I'm glad that there's an alternative.
Do you see how many seats they're getting? What are they called? The AFB. Oh man, we can't go. We have enough to do here in America.
Have you seen?
We don't have any
real
German
quick.
listeners. Go ahead.
I saw an ad today that made, like, you can edit this out. I saw an ad today that went crazy, where it was like an alternative for Germany poster, and it was 3 of the whitest, blondest, blue-eyedest, Aryan-ass kids in the middle, and then the parents on either side were like, it looks like together, their hands were together to make a house, but their arms were straight out and touching. So they were both doing the "My heart goes out to you" over top of the kids, forming a house, but we know what it's about. And also the parents are, of course, like very blonde, very blue-eyed, very Aryan. And it's like, we are here. I can't remember. It was something like, we're here to defend the children. And I'm like, wow. Whoa.
Yeah, and when they said they were here to defend the children, did you happen to count how many words they used? Because I bet it was 14.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna guess their statement was 14 words long.
Yeah, something like that.
It's all so fucking depressed. CPAC, once after last year, everyone pointed out, you guys realize your stage is in the shape of a Nazi symbol, right? Not the swastika, the other one, the little diamond with the little octopus with arms. They did it again. So this year they did it full well knowing that that's what everyone noticed last year. It's
Wait, what is this ad? What is it? What is the logo?
CPAC. Their stages, the big conservative conference, the one that Elon was just like, and we're going to save the country and have a sense of humor about it. And now I'm going to go online and call someone else the R word. The stages are set up in a configuration, this big stage, and it's literally in the shape of one of the Nazi symbols that they wore on their thing. And last year it was pointed out to them. Actually, I think for the last couple of years, because I recall seeing Rittenhouse on this fucking thing. And man,
wow,
how our heroes fall. Fucking Kyle Rittenhouse. He's going to be president one day. I know it. I just know that's how stupid our country is. Anyway, I think the point of this segment was fuck the Irish, the Italians, and the Dutch. And now we can talk about something all of them are invested in, Catholicism, because Pope Francis has been admitted to Rome's Gemelli Hospital with pneumonia complicated by sepsis, and they are raising concerns. He is 88 years old and is apparently in a serious but stable condition with double pneumonia. That is each lung, I assume. Otherwise, I have no concept of what double pneumonia is. He is receiving... he's getting blood transfusions.
My boy's got turbo pneumonia.
Turbo pneumonia.
What is double pneumonia? I guess it could be like 2 strains of pneumonia if it isn't to do with, but I always thought that pneumonia was both lungs already. So I don't know what double pneumonia is. I could have looked it up beforehand, but then I would have been more professional. We can't have that. He's getting blood transfusions. He's already showing mild renal failure. He's getting oxygen support. And everything is suspended through the end of the month. I have a feeling it's going to be suspended further. And it's one of those it's one of those situations where you're like, good, but bad. Because what's the replacement going to be? Like, you remember when everybody a few years back was like, come on, Jeff Sessions, don't you quit. Jeff Sessions is my guy right now. The like all in all racist dude who was like, fighting shit in Alabama for years for racial equality, who became the attorney general under Trump, but then was actually like resisting Trump in a lot of ways. And you're like, don't you quit, Jeff Sessions. And then he quits and Bill Barr comes in and everything. But
yeah, I was going to ask how we feel about the Pope, because I'm sort of like a cultural atheist. Like, I was brought up that way, but I'm not really practicing. So I'm like, how do we atheists feel about the Pope? Do we like him? Are we like, he's based, he likes the gays? What do we think?
No, he doesn't like the gays, though. He's
he doesn't.
Individually kind to any person who's in front of him. And he has been better than a lot. But this is like this. It's the low expectations
he
we
likes.
have
He
on
likes
bigots.
climate. Well, no, he doesn't like climate change. He agrees that climate change exists and tells people to do shit about it.
He's probably like liberal progressive. He might even have a little socialist leaning in tendencies, but he still is anti-abortion. You still can't get married and be gay in the church. He's still like the main, and then fundamentally the church that you thought was going to be reformed and all of these like fucking pedophiles were going to be ejected. Nah, they just still got moved around. There was a little bit here and there, but he was basically like look, we can't have that Nazi pedophile from before anymore. So get Rasmussen out, get fucking this this guy in and he'll be like the sweet face. But now and so this is why I'm saying it's complicated, because we have such low expectations. The fact that he is still a fundamentally bigoted. I don't even know how to make that work, but he's just so much a bigot. But he's better than the other bigots. We're like,
he's a double bigot.
Kind of sweet. He actually speaks a bit like Jesus, which makes him a little bit kinder and sweeter and stuff. And you like maybe him as a person. Like, he's the bigoted friend you'd probably still stick around because you're like, I can change him. I feel
I know the type. We've all got a
make
Pope
his way.
Francis in our lives, don't we, guys?
I think so. I think I was a Pope Francis once upon a time, but
And look at
now,
you.
Yeah,
We can
it's
fix
like when people.
He's 88, but we can change. We can fix him.
We could change him.
You say, look at you, but I'm like the guy who's like, my parents hit me and I turned out okay, but it turned out to be a fucking nightmare. It worked out great. Pope Francis could be all of this. Anyway, so he's probably going to die is kind of what I'm getting at. And the weird thing that I'm actually keeping my eye on is, more than anything, obviously what Pope is going to come next. And then is the hubris of Trump and Elon so great that they will try to influence who is picked, because Pope Francis has been a political thorn in Trump's side from time to time, and has called him out. And Trump has had to be really careful about pushing back and never going further than the sentiment of like, I think he should stick with the Jesus stuff, and I will stick with the, if I had holes in my hands, I'd fit something in there. And I feel I want to see if they try to influence getting like a Trump insider into the papacy, which sounds like a gynecological term.
That really means that we should get our bunkers ready, because that's some like old empire shit.
Yeah.
That's some like Roman Empire shit of like, okay, we can make the Pope our guy.
But what would you do? Just bring back Benedict from the dead? Because they kind of had a Nazi for a Pope the time prior. Like, they went from Nazi Pope to kind of sweet Pope. In comparison, like, I don't know. Imagine how great whoever runs the line will seem one day compared to me. Like, I'm setting the bar so low, and that's what happened with Pope
Such a lie.
Francis. With Pope Francis, it's like, in comparison, oh my God, so great. It's only a lie because no one's going to keep running.
I was going to say, the line dies with you. There's no way.
Nobody wants my job. Not one person does. Anybody who thinks they do would do it and be like, fuck this.
I was going to say, not the way that you brag about it.
Brag about it?
Yeah.
Do I brag about the line?
No, you don't. You whine, you big whiner.
The line I love. Running the line, I hope nobody ever thought I'm bragging about.
No.
Anytime I'm like, yeah, I'm Jimmy Snow, I run the line, that's meant to be, I wish to receive condolences in return.
Yes.
Anyway, the Pope's going to die soon, and I, for one, will shed no tears. I just hope that 2025 is filled with more old age deaths that the world will benefit from.
As a liberal, I don't think it's right to be hoping for anybody's death, even if they are indirectly or directly the cause of many deaths. I am sad about Kissinger. Just kidding.
I was like, I don't think you're a liberal. This seems not true.
That's my alter ego.
I'm a leftist, and I didn't know if you were doing a joke at first, and I was like, don't roast her, don't roast her, don't roast her, don't roast her. And I was like, I left liberalism behind a long time ago when I was like,
I think everybody has. I think we're done with it.
I wish. It's just, hey guys, I have an open gushing wound that you can see my muscle, and the liberals are just like, let's put Band-Aids on it and then talk about how great we did. But, But the Republicans are like, let's open up the wound and bleed it out. If you're having problems with blood, get rid of the blood.
That could work. Better than nothing. Logical. Anyway. Yeah. Hey, guys, I think liberalism is over, but I will continue to have my nice white liberal lady character tap into every once in a while.
Ready. Unfortunately, I think that liberalism won't, I don't know. If the next person doesn't run on Medicare for all, the Democrats, it's just kind of like, oh, you don't want to win.
No, they don't.
Because that's literally how you would win. The next Democratic president will have run on, unless one of these guys literally come out as a Nazi, like full Kanye level, The Republicans
Even
have a
then.
pretty hard thing to overcome now with the way that they have shifted, the way that they are going to be able to just keep elections if they want in the future. Like, if you want a true populist movement that can overpower it, you have to run on Medicare for all. And they're just like, but
At least. I
want that lobbying position when I get done. So I can't, guys. Bird flu. Maybe I'll just yell the last two topics
flu?
and we'll call it a night.
Where'd it
Bird
go?
flu has been detected in rats for the first time. This was last Wednesday. It has been confirmed in rats, meaning that it is now spread to rats, house cats, which is not good, people. No. You do not want rats to have it and cats to have it. Seals, foxes, and bobcats. You know, those are kind of... I'm not chilling with those dudes very often. I had a dream last night that I worked at like an animal clinic and that I had to put cats down. I literally just cried the whole time.
That's horrible.
I was like having to like put the thing in their IV and just cry the whole time. And I just woke up and I'm like, why would I think it was because some other stuff had happened this week. And I think my brain will create dreams in which I cry because I don't cry very much when I'm awake.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you need to cry. So
Let me show you the worst thing that you've ever seen.
And so, like, I was literally, like, holding a cat that had, like, a patch of fur missing on its face.
God.
As it, like, in my dream, and just, like, bawling into it as it, like, was dying. And
I'm about to start crying right now.
Yeah, that's terrible.
What a fucking awful... I've never had that... For example, for anybody who's like, is he a serial killer? I cried because this was a very alarming and not normal thing to happen. And it was not enjoyable at all. This sounds like I'm protesting too much, and I hear it. But anyway, Department of Agriculture has confirmed the first ever cases of bird flu in rats. This is a further development, and it is getting it closer and closer to us. And keep in mind, people, we're not waiting for the jump to people. It already jumped to people. Now it's a matter of if it keeps getting into all the mammals that are around us and that are interacting with things like our food and interacting with things like our other animals, it's about how much it can spread. But don't you worry, Trump will do as good of a job with bird flu as he did with COVID.
I just really want to just call out one bullet point that I'm looking at right here that made me laugh. USDA working to rehire bird flu experts recently laid off due to cost-cutting measures.
Yep.
And
imagine...
What?
Who would want to come back with it being that fraught? Where you're like, hey, would you come back and have your job until Elon wakes up one day and goes, nah, my cabbage dick is mad again. Who am I going to fire?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The worst part is that I meant celery, but I said cabbage the first time, so I've had to double down the whole time.
You have to double down.
Okay.
No, celery's so boring. Cabbage is way funnier.
Celery's too close. I think
like a
cabbage
completed
creates
celery.
a new vision for what we're
I didn't mean like a
here.
trimmed celebrity with peanut. I wasn't talking about like ants in a log. I was talking like with the head and stuff on it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
But anyway, cabbage
Hazel's gonna unzip her skin and walk out soon.
I'm trying not to get too upset because I'm rocking with a celery stick down there right now.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna pretend you're not talking about
when you shame a celery dicked person, one celery dicked person.
Elon's not gonna see you making fun of
all.
his celery dick, but your friends with celery dicks are gonna see it.
Yeah.
They're all gonna know. This also, as we're finding out, that the Trump administration has announced a significant change in its approach to combating bird flu, moving away from mass culling and towards vaccination and enhanced biosecurity methods. However, while that being the significant change, they're also removing from the websites information about vaccinating and recommendations to vaccinate. So essentially what this means, and I really need people to understand this, Donald Trump has a strategy for stopping himself from getting bird flu. He is 100% going to get the vaccinations. He is even going to support making sure that the vaccinations are as up to date as possible. And he is not going to spend a fucking dime making sure you get one. There will be shortages of the vaccination in this country, the way there were for the COVID vaccine under him, because they had lots of them and just didn't have a distribution plan. And there is going to, but he will be vaccinated. Like that is exactly what happened even during COVID. He does believe in vaccines. Even with RFK, they're doing whatever. He took the COVID vaccines. He took the boosters. He hated getting booed when he was up there on stage with Bill O'Reilly, and Bill asked him if he got vaccinated. You could see him hesitate and pause. He goes, yes, I got the booster. And then people were booing. He's like, well, you got to have your freedoms. You have your freedoms. But, those boosters, we did that. That is a great victory. But you got to have your freedoms. And then eventually just stopped saying it at all because Candace Owens won. Fuck. Anyway, you're all going to die and your eggs are going to be expensive and before they kill you. That you're going to get bird flu from the eggs that you saved up to buy. You were going around to the couches just trying to find enough change to get you some eggs, and then you're going to bring home bird flu. I don't think that's actually how it works, but there's, by the way, 70 reported human cases so far with 1 death, which sounds like, only 1 death so far.
Wait.
1 in 70.
Yeah, that's not
Yep.
good. And 70 human cases alone is not good.
Yep. Mostly in Louisiana, which...
Right.
You ever met a person from Louisiana? I lived there for 2 years, not going back ever. It is a garbage
You think the
place.
Louisianians will get the vaccine, you think?
No. Oh, no,
Yeah.
No, because nobody in Louisiana, Louisiana is filled with really, really, really dumb whites. There is some diversity down in New Orleans, and there will probably be decent vaccine distribution there if there is a program to distribute, because New Orleans definitely has honored our age-old tradition of making sure that since slavery, black people, let's just go ahead and keep them poor and keep them right here in this area. There are literally like sectors that you know of as like the black parts of New Orleans. Because it's basically still culturally segregated there. And so, yeah, no, it's just, but for the most part, the like active political people there and a lot of the farm people there are just a bunch of like the worst gutter whites that we whites have to offer.
Gutter
you.
whites.
Gutter whites.
Look at their
Gutter whites.
Have you guys seen Representative Kennedy? He's from Louisiana. You know who I'm talking about?
Nope.
Not RFK. Oh my God.
Rep
the guy, he kind of talks like this and he's like, I can't even think of an example as dumb as the dumb things he says. It is. And then I want to say Gomer is from there too. Is Louis Gomer from there? These are 2 people who just say the stupidest, like fucking young earth creationist dog shit. And I don't have anything better to. Anybody got anything else they want to share to close out this like really?
No, I'm upset.
We're all gonna die, and it's gonna come in the eggs that you couldn't have even afforded to buy in the first place. Those eggs put you into debt. That's the wrong loop. This is the right one.
Music.
And now we're all done.
That's it, everybody.
We'll have the bonus show after where we'll talk about Threads and if Threads has become a little Nazi hangout following Twitter. I think that's what we'll probably do. I don't know.
Jimmy,
I didn't really have a plan for
thanks
it.
for having me on.
Hazel,
now
come back.
I feel like
please.
shit now. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what
and
happens.
cry.
Yeah, welcome to The Line Has a Podcast. We all start with high hopes and we leave really upset.
Are you excited to come back sometime?
Woo!
We'd love to have you
Oh,
back.
anyway.
It was so fun. Hell yeah. There's like 5. These are too long.
It is a long. It's a bit long. That's
Yeah.
okay.
We'll see you
Okay.
next week.
Goodbye.
No, Friday. I'm
Yeah.
bad at my job. And play it out one more time.
One more time. Wow.